Decoding Learning Differences with Kimberlyn Lavelle, and this episode is letters to start the school year. And really, this should just be letters to the school, because it's not just to start the school year. As I started going through this, I started thinking about how you really want to be in contact frequently. That's always my recommendation, and I talked about it in last week's episode. So really, we want to have frequent communication all year long, and I've drafted a bunch of different letters for you. They're quick drafts, so please make them your own. I have them down below, probably. If not, email me, Kimberlyn at decodinglearningdifferences.com. I'll hook you up with them. I'm going to go over them in a minute. Right now, I'm just letting you know kind of who we're talking to. So we're going to have letters to gen ed teachers at multiple times throughout the year. We're going to have a letter to the case carrier. We're going to have letters to service providers. So let me show you how I have this set up. Just a second. Okay. So if you're listening, I'm going to kind of read through a lot of this, but not all of it. Again, if you want the letters, reach out to me. So I've labeled each of them. This is right now is just in Google Doc. So this is letters to the gen ed teachers. For those who aren't aware, gen ed means general education. I often forget to explain this. This is just the teachers that you think of as regular teachers, right? They teach kindergarten. They teach first grade. They're not the special education teachers. They're not any of the service providers. They're just the teachers who teach the average kids. Most kids on IEPs work with general education teachers, gen ed teachers, at some point in their day or some point in their year. They're kind of supposed to interact with gen ed peers as much as possible. So depending on the exact situation, it doesn't always happen, but most of the time there's a little bit of that happening. I know a lot of you guys have kids that are in gen ed classes primarily, and they just get extra support. So for those kids, you're going to have a gen ed teacher as their primary teacher, or primary teachers, especially at middle school and high school. They're going to have multiple general education teachers, as well as probably one or more special education teachers. Also could be called specialized academic instructors or education specialists or other titles that I can't think of right now. They get a variety of names, resource teachers. Okay, so at the start of the school year, these are the gen ed teachers. I'm assuming that these teachers don't already know your kid, because most of the time the gen ed teachers are new to your kid. Sometimes at a middle school or high school, they will already know your kid. Sometimes even at an elementary, they'll already know your kid because they changed grade level that they're teaching, or there was a combo class situation or whatever. But assuming they don't already know your kid, this is sort of the letter. Dear teacher, my child is, whatever their name is, and is new to your class this year. I wanted to be sure that you are aware of a few things about my kiddo. You might use a different word there. Kiddo might not be the word you say. We'll say Susie. Susie loves blank, right? Helping out around the house and playing with teddy bears. Susie participates in gymnastics and ballet. Susie is interested in, and this can be anything they're interested in. She's interested in learning about dinosaurs. She's interested in becoming a teacher one day. She's interested in how the earth works, how the earth spins. She's interested in math. She's interested in Taylor Swift. Whatever it is, she's interested in it. Susie has been identified as having dyslexia, or a specific learning disability with a visual processing disorder. Whatever it is, and is on an IEP to ensure access to the general education curriculum. Again, that's very much my kind of wording in that professional setting. You probably have a less formal way of saying that, but you can use that. It's okay to have the formal because it lets them know that you know a little bit and that you might also be paying a little bit of attention or be getting a little bit of help or support. So feel free to use the words or change the words on all of this. I want you to know that I have realistic expectations about my child's abilities, and I know that it will take a team effort to help my child have their best year ever this school year. So if you watched last week's episode, or listened, either way, to last week's episode, I talked about the importance of kind of letting them know, I know my kid, and this is where you could add something in. I know Susie can become defiant at times, right? You know a fact about your child, and you're letting them know that you already know this. You're open to, so they don't have to be afraid to say it to you because you're saying it first. And you're letting them know that you're open, you're realistic, right? That's letting them know that you're approachable, which helps generate this communication that you really want to have so that things can be successful. Please let me know if there's anything I can do at home to better support my child's learning and if there's anything else that needs my attention. I also want to be sure that you are aware of the IEP accommodations my child requires. These include, and you could add in something at the beginning there, like, I know the beginning of the year is really tricky, so I just wanted to take a minute to make sure that you were aware of these things. And include, and I say here, the first accommodation, simple terms. So like, you don't necessarily want to like copy and paste it from the IEP document, which they should have some version of all of this. But it's possible that they don't, or that they forgot that they do. Happens all the time. So you're going to just kind of say it in the way that you think of that accommodation. Like, you might not say speech to text. You might say voice typing, or using the microphone on the computer to type out their work, or whatever. However you think of it, you can just write that out. And then all the accommodations that are applicable to that teacher. So if that teacher doesn't teach math, then you don't need to include things about access to a number line, for example. Letter continues. Please see the IEP case manager, and then you would include the case manager's name if you know it for more information on how to best implement the accommodations. Again, this is kind of my speech coming through, my like professional speech coming through, so feel free to change it. And in a smaller school, especially at an elementary level, there's probably only one case manager for students with that type of disability. So the teacher probably already knows who to go to. So you could probably just say, please see blank, the case manager's name, if you know it. If you don't know it, you can just say the IEP case manager who I've not had a chance to meet yet, or who I'm waiting to hear back from, or whatever. And that might help if you are still not in the loop on who the case manager is, which especially happens at like middle school and high school, where there's a lot of different case managers, and sometimes there's a delay in letting you know who the case manager for your child is. Okay, while the accommodations are the most critical piece for you to be aware of and implement, it is probably also beneficial for you to know that my child's IEP goals include working on, right? So you're saying, like, I mostly wanted you to pay attention to those accommodations. But you should probably know that they're working on reading fluency, decoding words, and reading comprehension. Because that gives a clue, and you might even include it. Susie would not be comfortable reading aloud in class at this time. Please talk to me before ever putting her in that situation. Sometimes there's horror stories out there of kids getting horribly embarrassed and really put on the spot in horrific situations like that. So you can throw that stuff in there. Again, warm, but be firm. Like, you're not going to be a pushover, but you are open. You want to hear from them. You want to have a dialogue about things. It's all good. Thank you so much for taking this time to get to know my child. I truly appreciate your participation in my child's IEP team, and most importantly, my child's continued growth, success, and confidence. Feel free to contact me by, and then your choice, whatever your preferred method of contact is, or you can give all of them. By phone at blank, by email at blank, and by text at blank. Well, by phone or text at blank, probably, unless you have 2 separate numbers for, you use your work number at times and they can call you there, but they'll text you at your personal, whatever, I don't know. Whatever it is. Sorry. So, this first letter is to the Gen Ed teachers. Now I'm going to quickly go through the other ones because there's a lot that's repeated and I just changed some wording a little bit. So, the next letter, I went too far. Okay, so the next letter I have is to the Gen Ed teachers, but it's a month after school year, the school year starting, and you're saying what's been going well, what has been a struggle, how are the accommodations working out, and then I have a note here for you to, if possible, you're going to enter specific questions about the exact accommodations. With an example, have you been able to provide read alouds of the grade level text to Susie in a way that is private while also not singling her out? And then ending with, is there anything I can do to support you further? So it's a lot of questions for them to answer, but hopefully they're open to it. Some teachers are really bad. I shouldn't say teachers. Some humans are very bad about a series of questions like this. They won't answer all of them. They'll answer the last one, or they'll pick one and answer that one. So if needed, you might have to note that they only answered one, and then send a follow-up email with one more question, and then a follow-up email with one more question, and then a follow-up email with one more question, and separate them out like that, or via text, or give them a call and talk to them on the phone. Most of the time, you can contact teachers easier through email than phone or anything else, but it's all an option. I have a note here to you, follow up with similar letters every month or at a minimum every trimester if things seem to be going well. So if you have worries, minimum of once a month, but you also don't want it to be like every week because they're just going to be like, you're emailing too much, I can't respond to this much. Please keep in mind, these are very, very busy people. They might care so much about your kid, but they also care just as much about the other 27 kids on their caseload, and they've got a lot going on. They can't necessarily email every parent every week about all of these things. So once a month, and give them a week or so to respond, as long as they are responding, and then you can also do phone calls if that works better for them, or ask them to call you. And if things are going well and you feel like everything is being implemented and you can see that your kid is comfortable and all the things, then you could reduce it to just like every trimester or semester, depending on how your schools are set up. And just, so just a couple of times a year, 3 or 4 times a year, quarters, whatever it is. Okay. So the next letter is to the case manager at the start of the school year if they are new to the student. It's very much the same. This is my kid's name. They love this. They participate in this. They're interested in this. I know you're getting used to it, but just a quick overview. Again, I want to let you know that I have realistic expectations, blah, blah, blah. And then you can have something like this. I would like frequent information regarding how well the accommodations are working and if the goals seem to be appropriate. Right? You're asking for that specific thing. I'm curious to know how you plan to work on each of the goals and would love to hear more about it either via email, in person, or over the phone. They're going to have a hard time. Like, if I got this letter when I was in the classroom and doing this job, and I might go back to that in the future, but if that happened, I would not respond in an email personally. I would give them a call and explain over the phone, because it'd be a lot faster for me, because there's so much detail to what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. And I would want to be like checking in with them and make sure they understand. Unless for some reason it was a very simple situation. It was a kid that had like one goal. They were basically at grade level and everything. They just had one tiny weakness, and we just wrote one goal for it. And there's one program I'm using that is going to help them get to that goal. Or one strategy. Sometimes it's not a program, it's more of a strategy that we're using, whatever, depending on the goal. Okay. So again, thank you so much. Feel free to contact me, blah, blah, blah. Then for any service providers new to the student, very, very similar. Very, very similar. As to the case manager one. I changed it a little bit for, if the case manager or the service providers already know the kid, then you might be a little more informal. I hope you had a relaxing summer break. Susie had a great summer. I just wanted to update you on a few things about Susie. She currently loves blah, blah, blah. She participates in blah, blah, blah. She's interested in blah, blah, blah. And if all of it's the same as the last they knew, and it's all the same that's on the IEP document, you don't have to include any of that. But you can just have something in there about this summer she learned to ride a bike and is so excited. So whatever it is, you could have something in there that's just personal, getting to know them, reaching out to them. Don't make it super long, because they are busy. Don't have time to read too many stories, as much as they love them. Keep it concise. But they also do love knowing the fun stuff. So, and again, just including, I want you to know I have realistic expectations, blah, blah, blah. I put in here, if you'll humor me, a quick reminder of her IEP accommodations are blah, blah, blah. The IEP goals are blah, blah. And again, that request of, I would like frequent communication, frequent information regarding how all the accommodations are working and if the goals seem appropriate. I'm curious how you plan to work on the goals, etc., etc. Okay, so those are the letters that I have for you. As the year goes on, I'll probably put one more in here that's like the letter month one month after school, although it's basically going to be the same as this one, where you can send to the gen ed teachers. You can send the same basic letter to all the service providers, case manager, all the people who are involved in your kid's IEP team, other than the administrator, because they mostly just show up to take notes at an IEP meeting, unless they are doing something different. There are situations where the administrator is more personally involved in your child's day-to-day. And in that case, you could write them letters like this. But if not, then you can just write it to the service providers and teachers. However, definitely start CCing those administrators if any of the people aren't responding to you or it's taking a long time. You can say, hey, I sent this last week. I just was hoping to hear back from you. You can give me a call if that's better, or would you like to meet? And then CC the administrator. So you would want to like set that up so that it forwards your previous one with those dates stamped on there. Like, I sent this a week ago and you still haven't responded to me. Without saying that though, right? Like, it's the subtle, like, take a look here. And then you're CCing the administrator to make sure that the administrator knows that their employee was not responding to you in a timely manner. Again, please forgive. Service providers are very, very busy people. Case managers are very, very busy people. Gen ed teachers are very, very busy people. They love your kids. They want to do so much for your kids. And if they spend too much time chatting with you about it, they have less time to prep and prepare all the fun stuff for your kid. Because remember, it's your kid times 28 or more. I was supposed to be maxed out at 28 on my caseload, and I more than once had well over 28. So, and when I didn't have 28, it was still a lot. There was one time I only had like 12 kids on my caseload, and it was still a full day. So don't It's different. Anyway, as always, if you need more support, if you have questions, if you need anything from me, I am here to help. Please email me, Kimberlyn@decodinglearningdifferences.com. Again, if you didn't get the letters, if the link's not below like it's supposed to be, if it doesn't work in any way, if you're confused, if you want me to look at the letter before you send it, I'm not going to look at every single letter that you write before you send it, unless you're paying me to do that. But if it's a one quick letter, I might have time for that. So you can send that to me and I'll take a look. But it's probably great. It's probably great. All right. I'm here to help, and I will see you next time.